Hello, everyone, and welcome to Life Integrational Class 5 with Rachel Webb, Anai Louise, and Ola Fitzgerald. These classes help us bring the wisdom of the teachings directly into our daily life, relationships, and also challenges. They invite us to live the teachings in a real and practical way. Thank you for spending this time with us. Please make yourself comfortable and let's warmly welcome our teachers.
Thank you, Katerina. Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
everyone. Hi, Rachel.
Hi. Let's see who's here.
Yeah, hello. I'm
Hi,
here.
Anai. Can we pin Anai as well? Because she's also teaching. Katerina, I don't know if you can help with that. Good
I
morning,
will.
everyone. So we're going to start the life integration class now. This class is really cool because Ola, Anai, and I are going to cover how, in our practice, thanks to these teachings on the six perfections, we're able to work with the inner critic, or we're able to sort of practice with or transform thoughts of self judgment. And so, in this class for the next hour, we'll talk specifically about how concentration or meditation, which is the fifth perfection, helps you stop not only the inner critic, but also any mental affliction at all, by helping you see emptiness directly. So, I'm Rachel Webb. I'm based in New York City. I've been studying and practicing Dharma for 13 years. I started at 3 Joules, and thanks so much to Hector Marcel, my teacher. Ola and Anai are also pinned on the screen. Anai is from Mexico City, and she's been studying with Geshe Michael for 10 years. And then Ola is from Ukraine, living in London, and has been studying since 2017. So we're really excited to spend time with you all. Before we get into the teaching, I'm curious how many of you listening, can you send an emoji or wave your hand, do a thumbs up, if you've ever had self-judgment or negative self-talk ever in your entire life? I'm already raising my hand. Yeah, so if you're feeling it, and it's funny, sometimes in these teachings, like when Geshe Michael shares such beautiful things about morality and getting meditative realization, sometimes even in these teachings, my inner critic is very loud. It's like, oh, well, why haven't you gotten there yet? Or, um, you really should be further along, or you should have different thoughts or something. I'm curious if you can share in the chat where you hear the inner critic most in your life. Is it around your meditation practice, your relationships, your career? Is it about your family or your identity? So take a moment in the chat. Thank you, Shanti. I see difficulties in relationships with my family, with my daughters, some self judgment, spiritual practice. Okay, someone else is like me. After teaching, that's a big one. And that one's really funny because you just do like the best thing ever. And then after doing the best thing ever, sometimes you can have these crazy thoughts that maybe it wasn't so good. Thank you all for sharing in the chat, and I hope you get a chance to look and see that maybe someone has a similar one to you and you're not so alone, or so strange for having these thoughts. The most common thing when these thoughts come up, when we were talking about this before teaching this class, Anai, Ola, and I, the most common thing when self-judgment happens is that we try to just avoid it or ignore it. We don't listen to it. We don't work with it. We just try to run away from it, to stop it by any means necessary. But what we don't see when we do something like that is that these thoughts can actually be a really wonderful tool to transform ourselves. And if you realize that there's something you can do with these thoughts, it will become clear that you can actually really change your life. And so I'm going to pass the mic to Anai, and she's going to talk with us a little bit about how the fifth perfection, concentration, can help us use our negative thoughts so that we can become happy and defeat the inner critic. Anai.
Thank you so much. Actually, thank you to everyone for the opportunity to share with you. I'm so grateful also to share this class with Ola and Rachel. We were preparing this class and I learned a lot. Thank you so much. Well, for me, self-judgment, it is very important to work on it, because as Geshe Michael mentioned, like in different moments, this is one of the worst seeds that we can plant, because this body and also our mind is our vehicle to serve others. So if we hurt ourselves, we are hurting our best tool to serve others. That's why I think it is like very important to work in these seats. And also, I time to time I try to dedicate some months to work in my self-love, because I believe if we don't work in this, it's going to affect all the areas in our life. If we don't work in how we treat ourselves, it's going to affect our financial freedom. It's going to affect our relationships, our peace, our health also. And I will share you how it's been affecting in my life and how I've been working on it. 3 years ago, I've been working in trying to increase my self-love in order to improve my relationships. And I was doing a meditation, a reviewing meditation, trying to observe how I treat myself during the day. And I was like reviewing from the first moment that I wake up and until the end of the day. And I had a moment in front of the mirror. That moment was very special in my meditation, because I felt it was like a slow motion. And at that moment, I was in front of the mirror and I saw like a monster came behind my head and telling me very bad things about my body, about the work that I'm doing, taking care of myself. And I was like, what? And these boys tell me very, very bad things. And I felt like I can never say something like that to anyone. And I thought like, what I'm having these thoughts to myself. And I was like, very sad at that moment. I remember that I start crying in my meditation, and that is not common for me. And then I recognize that I am having this voice all the time, but I could see that all the time I try to avoid those messages. And when I saw those messages that I received every day when I in front of the mirror, I realized that I have to talk with this monster and tell them that I'm doing my best and recognize that this work, it is helping me to be strong, to be healthy, and I'm doing very good job. So after I saw these thoughts during my meditation practice, I start every day stand up in front of the mirror and tell me a good things, recognize all the good things that I've been doing. And I remember 3 years ago that I could feel different my body. Not because I changed my meals or I changed something else. It's because I start thinking better about me. And I remember a moment when a friend of mine was getting married and we were trying the dresses, and she told me, I can see something different in you. And I shared this experience with her, and she told me, you really looks different. Like, not because your body is different, it's because you project something different. And I realized that all those thoughts of self-criticism unleashed, released, relentless self-expectations in many things. And it was never enough. But why I have all those thoughts in my mind? Why triggers all these things to do better and better and better? 1 year ago, I realized that all these things that I trying to push myself to do better is because when I was little girl, I have around 3 or 4 years old, and I have an experience with a girl in the school, and she has an accident, very bad accident. We were playing, so she fell down and she broke his nose and all this part of his face. So she went to the hospital, and the next day her mom came into the school and asked the director to my mom pay all the expenses of the hospital. So my mom was like very, very worried about the girl and about the expenses because it was a lot of money. So the director say, my mom, don't worry. So the school have a insurance, so we are going to cover everything because it was inside of the school and the kids were playing. But when I saw my mom crying and all these things happening, I felt like I'm a very bad person. And because nobody saw how was really the accident, I didn't do anything really to the girl for this very bad accident. And I felt I'm very bad because I also saw my mom crying. So I put in my mind that I'm very bad person. And a few months when I was working again, trying to increase my self-love because I having like issues with my health, and the doctors couldn't find what is going on with my body. why it's not working very well. So I decided to do a 5 days silence retreat. I could find the cause, and I also could find that all these things was triggered because inside of my very deep mind was these thoughts that I'm not a good person. And then that triggers that I have to push myself to do better things all the time, and it's never enough. And when I saw that, I could have a very cool meditation with my little girl inside me. And I could feel like the difference between telling good things to myself that just having these thoughts all the time. Because when you saw those thoughts, you can realize that all the time they are there. But if we don't see them, we cannot work with them. So I think that's why it's so important to work trying to have shamatha and have these moments when we can see all these monsters that are telling us like very bad things to ourselves and pushing us away to our success. And encourage you to work not only during the meditation time, trying to figure out what you are telling to yourself, also trying to work during the daily life, because those thoughts are working all the time are in our mind. So in my experience, if we don't work with this, it's going to affect all our lives. Thank you.
Thanks, Anai. That was awesome. And we were talking about it, my experience was so similar to yours, and I'll share. And I love how you're inviting us to use shamatha to actually direct our attention on like choosing the seeds that we want to plant when those thoughts come up. For me, the first thing that came up of like, what do I have to share about working with the inner critic? When they reached out to us to teach, and I'm looking at the prompt, the first thing that came in my mind was an experience I had in deep retreat. It was my first ever month-long retreat, and I was in a cabin in Kentucky. It was actually really funny. Do you guys know Sarah Blackburn? She works for ACI. She grew up near where I retreated, and I actually went there because her mother, Rosie, lives very close. And so Rosie was taking care of me in my retreat, and she was bringing me food every week. So I was on this retreat, and it's my first long retreat, and in a way, committing to doing a long retreat, it's like committing to do the fifth perfection for a month. Like you're just like, I'm gonna keep my mind focused on this one goal every hour of every day of this entire retreat. And if you've done retreat, you know that there's obstacles in retreat. And one of my obstacles was this moment. I won't ever forget where I was in the cabin, and I won't ever forget where I was looking. The cabin was in Kentucky, but it wasn't just in the forest or in the field or something. It was on this farm that was a Catholic, like a bunch of Catholic nuns ran the farm. And so I was on the property of the Catholic center. There was a church, but they also were a meat farm. And so I was surrounded also, my cabin was also surrounded by cows, in the front and in the back and on the left side and on the right side. And the field I was in was the place where the mothers would give birth to their babies. And so anyway, that was actually really interesting part of the retreat. But so there I am, surrounded by cows. And I remember it was about a week into the retreat, and I just had so much doubt and so much fear. It wasn't doubt in the path. It wasn't doubt in the teachings. It was a doubt in myself. And I was having so many thoughts that I was also believing, where there was no way that I could ever become good enough to achieve enlightenment, even though it was my deepest wish. And it was like, they describe it like a klesha attack. Like, I remember I was doing something. I must have been getting ready to meditate, and the thoughts came very intensely, so much that I sat down on the ground, and then I laid down on the ground, and I was just looking at the ceiling and looking at my wardrobe cupboard. And the thoughts just kept coming, like, you're not good enough, you won't be able to do it. You know, what if you go crazy in this cabin all by yourself? Like, who are you to think, you know, all of those thoughts. I'm sure you guys have had these types of thoughts before. And the cool thing about being in retreat when those thoughts came is because I had already committed to focus. I had already committed to concentration on my goal, which is to become a completely enlightened Buddha in this lifetime. And I couldn't do anything else in the retreat. I couldn't pick up my phone and scroll on social media. I couldn't call a friend and talk because I was in silence. You know, there was nothing that I could do to run away from those thoughts. And so I just laid on my back and closed my eyes, and I tried to distract myself a little bit even in my own thoughts, but it wasn't working. And so I surrendered into my concentration on those thoughts, and I just watched them. I didn't try to run away. I didn't try to numb myself out. I didn't try to distract myself anymore. It was like something in me gave up the wrong methods. And I looked at those thoughts and I said, where is the suffering in this thought? Like, they're coming, and I feel so much pain, but where is the pain inside this thought? And if you've been meditating on emptiness, it's like that is an emptiness meditation. And I because of the retreat, I was so focused, I couldn't do anything else but say, where is the pain in this thought? Where is the pain in the inner critic? And it went even deeper than that, because once I asked that question, I said, well, what is an inner critic? Like, where is the criticism inside of this thought? Is it the moment I don't know, say the phrase like, you suck, you're bad, you know? Is it when I hear bad, the word bad? Is it inside the word bad? Is it inside the word you? No, it's not. Is it inside the phrase you're bad? Yeah, I think so. And then I was like, is it really? Well, what if I shaved half a second off the sound in my mind of my thought that said, you're bad? And what if I shaved a tenth of a second more? And what if I shaved a tenth of a second more? And what if I shaved a tenth of a second more? And when I really looked for, where's the pain inside this? Where is even the criticism inside this? How do I know that this thought is even the way I think it is? I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find the negativity in the thought. And I couldn't even find what I was calling the thought. I couldn't even find the criticism inside the thought. And then it was like the entire thing started to dissolve. Like the power of those thoughts to make me feel negative emotions and the thoughts themselves. And that's important, I think, to remember is like sometimes the thoughts don't go away, but your negative response to the thoughts goes away, you know? Thanks, Kristen, for nodding your head. I'm like, yes, I'm doing something right. And so when those thoughts started to dissolve, the first thing I realized, and if you haven't had this yet, you will definitely have this if you keep studying emptiness with Geshe Michael or all of the great teachers. The next thought I had was, oh my gosh, all of these horrible thoughts I've been having, all of these heartbreaking thoughts I've been having were actually my teacher. They were actually the enlightened beings reaching out for me. Because what was the result of hearing those thoughts? I had to try to find the answer. They brought me right to emptiness. And if those thoughts weren't happening, I wouldn't have gone to emptiness, and I wouldn't have gone so intensely. I wouldn't have used my shamatha, my concentration, to get me to something that made all of the negative thoughts fall away. And of course, the only reason I could see a negative thought as a teacher is because I've practiced doing it so many times and practiced seeing the emptiness of things so many times that it came up automatically after I dissolved the inner critic thought. So that's what I wanted to share. It's two things. It's building on what Anai is saying. We can use our concentration to defeat the inner critic. And it's about what we choose to concentrate on. And by the way, if you can defeat the inner critic, you can defeat anything else. Like if you can transform your inner critic by making them a teacher, if you can transform your negative thoughts by making them the teachings of the Buddha in your ear, in your head, then you can do that with jealousy. You can do it with anger. You can do it with sadness, you know. You can do it with anything. You can do it with anything at all. And it just takes practice. It just takes practice. So, really looking at the thoughts that we have, especially the negative thoughts. Like Geshe Michael talked about it in, not in the last class, but the class before it. He said, do you remember when he said this? He said, the devil in your mind is not coming from your seeds. The devil in your mind, the mental afflictions, the problems, they're not coming from your seeds. And therefore, all of the mental afflictions, therefore, all of the devils in your mind will lead you to enlightenment if you understand how to do this practice. And that's one of the ways, one of the techniques that you can use to transform difficult thoughts. And I hope you'll do it. But it's really important to have the skill, developing the skill of shamatha, the fifth perfection. So I'm going to pass the mic to Ola to share with us some stories about being a mother and having a child with you in retreat, and also some advices on how each of us, whether you're starting for the first time to work on your shamatha, to work on your meditation, or you've been doing it, just as long as we have or longer than we have, hopefully you'll get some inspiration from Ola's story. I know that Anai and I got a lot of inspiration from Ola.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Anai. Thank you for sharing your experiences and how you tackle this guy, inner critic. So yes, I would like to talk about something very practical, meditation practice that helps us to develop shamatha, concentration, and gradually quiet this guy called the inner critic. But before we begin, I'm really curious how many of you here already have a daily meditation practice. Please give me some emojis or anything, or raise your hands. Great. And next question, how many of you have tried meditation but sometimes feel frustrated with it? How many of you? That's right. Good. Then you are exactly the people I want to talk. Sometimes when we hear about meditation, we imagine perfect conditions, perfect environment, mountains, silence, beautiful temple. But I know that most of us practice meditation in real life. And I live in London. I'm also a mother of 3-year-old child. And so my meditation practice doesn't happen in a quiet monastery. It happens with the sirens outside, helicopters flying above the city, also our responsibility, commitments, and sometimes my baby needs some attention. So if you don't have a daily meditation practice yet, my advice is simple, and I'm trying to really inspire you to start very small, even 5 minutes a day. And most important is consistency is much more important than perfection. But something interesting happens when we sit down to meditate. Then inner critic appears, and I will try to highlight about 3 ways they can appear and what happened to me with my experience. I will share it. And it's sometimes right in the beginning. You have this thoughts, oh, that's too noisy, that is not perfect environment, or my body is aching, or I have so much thinking going on of busy day or of busy schedule. And if you have this, have anyone experienced that right in the beginning of the meditation when you just decided and it's all that hits you? Good. That means your meditation is working perfectly. You say, what? Because meditation helps us to finally see our mind clearly. We're facing it to our mind. And I wanted to share one of my experience. When I did my first month's long retreat, something very difficult happened right in the middle of it. One morning before sunrise, I woke up to do my preliminaries before meditation, but my baby girl, she was then 1 year old, was already awake and needed to be held. And in that moment, a very strong inner critic attacked me. Suddenly, my mind was full of spectrum emotions. Frustration. I can't do my preliminaries and my meditation. I have to hold my child. Then it's developed into anger. Then it's developed into helplessness. And that all have been really painful thoughts. At some point, I even started crying because in my voice, it was inside my voice, this inner critic wasn't really kind to me. He said, "Oh, you're rubbish. You're not good practitioner. You not do this properly. You will never achieve anything." And that was really painful to hear that voice. And so how I tackle this? So first of all, I just accept it. Okay, I'm not claiming that I'm a great practitioner. That's why I'm still here in samsara, okay? But then I remember one of my favorite practices is called Lojong. Is ACI 14 course. Then you can study it deeply about this practice. And it teaches us that when pain appears, we can transform into something beautiful, what is called compassion. And I said to myself, hey, I'm already hurting. I'm already in pain. So let this pain finish on me right now for all mothers who feel this way. Let this inner critic finish on me for all mothers who feel they are not good enough. And if something magical happened, my mind is calmed down. I felt a relief. I felt lighter. My baby fell asleep. And I was able to finish my preliminaries and 1 hour meditation before sunrise. And in that moment, I realized something important. Sometimes the inner critic becomes, like Rachel mentioned, our teacher. And he taught me of compassion. Compassion to yourself. Be kind to yourself. If you learn how to be compassionate to yourself and be kind to yourself, you can be compassionate to others and be kind to others. You can become a really good teacher as well, which accepting, loving of your students. So that is one of way I tackled my inner critic. So don't be hard on yourself. And another thing I wanted to share with you, practical tool, is after meditation, rejoice 2 things. So imagine you're doing the meditation for 1 hour every single day. And only 1 minute you have out of 1 hour of really good concentration. Okay? And here, the first thing you should rejoice According to Abhidharma, written by Master Vasubandhu, we know that even 1 second of good concentration, planting 65 seeds of good concentration, and they are multiplying every 24 hours. Wow. It's something what we need to rejoice. 1 minute. In 1 minute, we got how many seconds? And it's just in 1 second, you planted 65 seeds of good concentration. So, even one small moment of focus is really matter, and it could be really powerful. Okay. So what's the second thing we rejoice? So what to do with the other 59 minutes can be full of distractions. Like, for example, I'm distracted by the noise. I'm distracted by my body discomfort. I'm distracted by my thoughts. So what do we rejoice? How do you think? What do you think? We actually rejoice that in 59 minutes, yes, bad seeds finished. That's right. 59 minutes of purification. Wow. Because those moments of distraction are actually purifying the obstacles that block deeper concentration. And this 59 minutes brings us closer to perfect meditation, perfect environment, and perfect retreat. So plant your seeds. So let's just imagine together. If you meditate, just start with 5 minutes every day for 1 year. How many minutes of meditation is that? It's more than 1,800 minutes of planting seeds in your mind. Even some of those minutes feel distracted. The seeds are still being planted. Okay? So be very patient. And again, I want to share my experience. I practice one really beautiful meditation. It's called Ganden Halagyama daily. And at one point, I practiced for 9 months without missing a single day. And then I continued practice. I've been continued practicing about 3 years, same meditation. Okay, I had the breaks in between, but I stuck with one meditation, which called Ganden Halagyama. And it's something, during that time, I discovered something very important. Very important. Joyful, perfect meditation sessions are actually quite rare. Okay? So don't have really high expectations that you hit this meditation cushion and it will be perfect. Okay? Don't expect that. Okay, most meditation sessions are simply we're working all the time, purifying distractions, tiredness, noise, responsibilities. So, but what is kept me going? I just stayed like a stubborn donkey, just showing up again and again. And one thing I learned is this: please do not wait for the perfect day or the perfect environment to meditate. Because if you wait for perfect condition, you may never begin. And instead, I start thinking about meditation in a different way, which I inviting you to try it. okay? If you get 1 minute of good concentration, say to yourself, bingo. And if the other 59 minutes are full of distractions, say bingo again. So it's like a win-win situation. Because those 59 minutes, we know, purifying obstacles and bringing me closer to this one clear moment of concentration. So either way, just keep practicing, okay? And keep planting your seeds. So, and then something unexpected happened. After about 3 years of practicing the same meditation, during a retreat, something changed in my meditation. Suddenly, the mind became very clear and steady. It felt like you're catching a wave while you're surfing. And I remember something what my teacher Peter Myrtle once said. When you catch this flow, when you hit this flow, stay there. So what happened? That is really subtle inner critic appeared at that moment. Because in my meditation, Gandana Halagyama, you have a sections, right? And I was on a section of my visualizations, part 2, right? It was a visualization of nectar of 6 perfections. And I hit that wave. I hit that flow at that part. And my inner critic keeps saying, keep going, don't stop. You need to keep going. Is there other parts you need to complete in this meditation? You don't have time to stay in this flow. So I have to tell my inner critic, excuse me, I trust my teacher advice. He said, when you hit that flow, stay there. And this magical moment lasted almost 2 hours. It felt like watching a breathtaking movie of insights and realizations. And afterwards, I realized something really important again. That moment did not come from perfect meditation. It came from thousands of imperfect ones. So if you struggle with meditation, please remember something simple. Just keep planting your seeds. Be patient and stubborn like little donkey. Be kind to yourself. Rome wasn't built in one day, okay? And meditation grows the same way. And one day, maybe when you least expected, those seeds will bloom. I want you to thank you so much, Anai and Rachel, for sharing your experiences. I want to thank you for the opportunity to share my experiences with you. And we are here available for your questions. And if we don't have time to answer your questions, please leave in the chat, and we will come back to you and continue to talk to you. And thank you very much. So do you want to say anything else, Rachel and I?
Yeah, we have a few more minutes. So please, if you have a question, can you do the hand raise emoji or put some of the questions you have in the chat? We shared a few different practices So you can ask about those or any general meditation questions, or even like when you're hearing about the inner critic, what problems or debates come up in your mind, right? I know for me, when I'm in teachings, I have kind of like two responses. One is I hear it and I'm like, oh, this is perfect, and I don't question anything. And then sometimes I'm in a teaching and I'm like, I don't know if, if that's going to work for me because I have these objections, one, two, three. So I'll just give a moment to see if there's any questions about meditation or what we've covered on the concentration perfection.
Okay, I'm got it. Olga, how should you behave if your child gets sick? That was happened to me in one of the retreats. I've done 4 now monthly retreats with a child. And my 3rd monthly retreat, my child's right in the middle, again, in the middle of the retreat. I love to say the retreat is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. And the crisis you hit right in the middle of this month. Just serve your child. I took a child with me in my retreat, and I took her as my angel, and she taught me a lot. She is the greatest teacher in my retreat. In my first monthly retreat, she taught me to not be too hard and tough on yourself. And when your child gets sick, she's teaching you, I think, the same. You again get too hard on yourself, too tough, too pushy. And it's all about, you need to keep the balance with the practices and have a break in between, right? Don't always push yourself. And so when my child got sick, I was realizing I need to a little bit calm down, not pushing myself too hard. Yeah, it's like you have to balance. It's like Geshe Michael Roach in previous lecture, he said, our homework will be is to rejoice, to learn how to rejoice our practices. So I think is between this, is pushing hard, working hard, but don't forget to rejoice and have fun. When is your practices stop being fun, then you're doing something wrong. I think I answered the question. There is before from Cassie, would you guide your kind of meditation, Ola? What do you mean, Cassie? Would you guide? Rachel,
I
do
think
you?
they want to know what meditation you were doing, but I'm not sure we have time
Yeah. Okay.
in this session. I saw one more question. Well, I don't know if it was a question so much as a statement, but I figured, Anai, if you want to talk to this, or I can even speak with this.
What kind of
Shanti.
meditation that I'm do to catch the criticism? Well, I do reviewing meditation. After my preliminaries, I observe my whole day since the beginning, and I'm trying to catch what am I doing, why am I doing that, and also why I'm saying to myself. I'm trying to observe, like in this moment, because when I saw myself in front of the mirror, it was after I took shower. So it is a moment like when I spend like time thinking about me, my body, my clothes and everything. And I was reviewing like very slowly. And and also I think when we are looking for these moments, when you are in your meditation cushion, like you can have this slow motion and you can see like very slowly what is happening in this moment, because all the time is happening but we cannot see it, like many voices and many thoughts are going on and we cannot see it all the time clearly. But if we practice, so we can have these moments if we are looking for. That's why I try to dedicate time to time to work in this particular task. Try to find where can I improve my self-love. Yeah.
Julia wrote in the chat, how do you engage with your inner critic? Like when the thoughts come up, is it better to like relate with it, interact with it, or just observe it? I can share, and then if you guys want to jump
Yes.
in. So for me, Julia, looking for an answer to your question, I'm like, it's all of them. Like all different practices can work. Even in this teaching, we talked about, noticing the inner critic and then replacing a critical thought with a positive thought. We talked about noticing the inner critic and then taking the loss, the Lojong practice of like, let it ripen on me that all of these negative thoughts are happening for the sake of other living beings. That's what Ola shared. That's one of the many practices Ola shared. And then for me, it was like just observe it and observe it so closely that you see that it's an illusion. Not only is the thought itself an illusion, but also my way of reacting to it. The feeling that I have to automatically feel bad when there's a bad thought is also an illusion. And yet these seeds ripen so close to each other. So there's not one practice that will work for every single person, and I think it's all about, the people you're talking to right now have been doing this for years and years and years. And I've tried all the different practices, even within this lineage, within this specific lineage in Tibetan Buddhism, there's so many ways, Sometimes I hear the thoughts come up and I'm just like, shut up, and then I keep going throughout my day. That's why it's so important to have a teacher or a mentor that you can speak with about like, well, what's the best for me? And also to continue to come to teachings and learn new methods and techniques. When you practice for long enough, certain practices, you'll notice they stop working, and then you have to like try something else, or your meditation object, like Ola did the same meditation for 3 years, and then I did that I was doing Tonglen as my daily practice for 7 years, and then I switched it to another one. And so learning how to make those transitions is also a skill that you develop, and for me it developed in conversation with my teacher. Anai, Ola, I don't know if you want to share any other comments or advices in the last 60 seconds of class.
Please go ahead, Ola.
No, thank you so much. It's really useful, and thank you for beautiful advice. It just maybe adding on, the more we learn the teachings, the more we recognize this inner critic, because sometimes inner critic can appear like really sounds like true. And you can be, if you're not careful, you can believe that inner critic. And so the more we study and the more we realize, no, hold on a minute, everything is empty and it's got emptiness as well in them. So that's it. And
Yeah, I just like to add it that the Mahamudra meditation for me to watch my thoughts, it is one of the most powerful tool to observe what is going on in your mind. It's very long explanation because Mahamudra meditation is very deep, but yeah, you can look for it. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with all of you, and also thank you for the opportunity to share this class with Rachel and Ola. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in at whatever time zone you're in.
Thank you, everyone, for joining Life Integrational Class 5. And thank you to our teachers for such a bright and meaningful class. We hope the reflections offered practical inspiration for daily practice. And it feels very special to see teachers from different parts of the world coming together, and to feel all of us coming together through this course as well. Thank you for spending this time with us. See you.